Hi everyone, welcome back, and I will just say thank you for stopping in again. I'm not a huge fan of making videos this long, but this one's a little different. There's lots of good stuff to dig into, but if you want just my general take on the solo player experience, that is at the start, and then there's a whole host of what I find to be interesting or at least comical clips of what happens and some of the trials and tribulations of a solo player in this game. Generally, I love it. I put 90 hours into it. And I would gladly do that again if they didn't close the playtest. The comedy of this game is just the fact that we're all thrown in there together. And, it's just a shit show. There's just nothing else you can say about it. It's just incredibly entertaining. So this video is going to be a little different. It's not just going to be me swinging the longsword, chopping people down. I actually wanted to discuss with you all something I see being posted about and discussed a lot, which is the solo player experience. Does Dark and Darker have a problem? Are there going to be problems with full release? And are solo players going to survive if it stays the same? As a solo player myself, I have a lot to discuss, and I have a lot of videos and examples and stuff I'll share with you today, and we'll see where it goes. I want you all to weigh in. It's one of those things I see posted and discussed about and talked about a lot extensively through any of the discussion forums, and basically it is tearing people up, the fact that they can't have a 1v1 or solo or duo queue lobby. So as you can see here, I'm just minding my own business, doing what I've learned to do, and honestly I can say after this is probably 50 hours in the playtest, I am not a new player in any of these videos, or for the majority of them. Most of that content didn't get recorded, and basically just assume that I'm an experienced player already at this point. So, killing mobs and not taking damage from mobs is something that you learn in the first probably 40-50 hours. And then we start getting into the PvP kind of side of things where it becomes very punishing. As you can see here, I'm just minding my own business, and then a new man pops up and decides I'm not allowed to respawn. So we'll watch that and see what happens. So, if you're a solo Dark and Darker player, you've probably been in this situation many times. And this isn't just some starting out player with the shit gear. I mean, most of these runs I have some pretty decent gear, so I'm able to at least maybe get a kill, or fight that one guy and surprise him a bit. But for the most part, if you're a starting player, you really don't do nearly enough damage to be able to take on any of these people in the three-man teams. It is incredibly frustrating and incredibly difficult. You basically just have to hope and pray that you get out of those doors into the middle of the ring and find a portal. I was in this situation many times with shit gear. I leveled up 3 characters to level 20, and basically that's how I learned to get myself out of some of these situations. So is this good? Is this fun? My honest opinion is that it's the nature of the current lobby system. As you'll see in some of my recent videos and videos I've posted, I actually enjoy, the thrill of taking on, this is going to sound ridiculous now that I'm about to say it, taking on 3 or 4 guys. So, there's something about being the underdog as a solo player that is thrilling, and I do understand that there has to be a way for solo players learning the game to not just get repeatedly punished, especially as this playtest grew on. Towards the end of the playtest, anyone checking out the game for the first time was just getting absolutely destroyed. And there's some examples of this I have coming up, but it is very punishing when you're up against people with good gear. They know how much they're hitting for, and there's more than one of them. There's 3 of them chasing you down. So, like this last quick example is just me getting zoned out. So basically there's nothing I can do to escape. So once again, I just do my best to take one with me. And that's the gist of it. Run over. Now, I actually only have basically one more main example. Probably the most frustrating one for me because it shows the highs and lows. You start really progressing. You're killing mobs efficiently. You're getting some decent gear. You're starting to become a little bit more brave, maybe taking on 2 or maybe 3 guys, picking them off, etc. And then, you know, basically fast forward, you get you run into a 3-man. And I'll be honest, this 3-man fight was one of the reasons why I stopped using longsword and switched back to ranger for a while. Basically, clanging it off the wall a couple times with a rogue in your face and a mage or whatever behind him was incredibly frustrating. And in saying that, I mean, I didn't stop playing. I still loved playing this game. I'm just saying that I can understand a lot of the frustration. And as I mentioned earlier, this isn't with starting gear. This is me with decent gear, having many successful runs. It probably took me 10 or 20 runs. I played a barb. I got to level 6 and I didn't even escape until I switched to a ranger or fighter class that had some sort of healing. I then max leveled a rogue, basically learned the maps, and hid and ran, and hid and ran. That's essentially all I could do for the first 20 or 30 hours of gameplay until I started to understand how to actually fight things and not die repeatedly. And even then, as you can see, I'm still dying repeatedly. And this right here is actually one of those 4 solo players we're discussing. But look, I actually think this game is meant to be challenging. They've basically already explained that it was designed to be a 3-player game with PvE content that suits a 3-player setup. So it doesn't really surprise me that it's really difficult for a solo player, or it can be extremely challenging. I'm not really kicking and screaming saying that I want changes either. I think it's perfectly viable to play as a solo player. I've had a lot of fun. Most of these clips we're watching and you're seeing in the background are me just in pubs with a longsword that I've barely used for that long, clobbering into people. So you can definitely make it work. It's just not meant to be easy, you know. It's going to be extremely challenging, and I think that's part of the enjoyment I'm getting out of it. Walking into a room with the 3 guys and chopping their faces off, among other things, is enjoyable. You know, you'll get a feeling of great success and excitement out of doing that. Whereas if you're super overpowered walking in, shanking a guy that's with a starting gear, that doesn't really excite me at all. And I mean, people are doing that, and I see a lot of solo players getting absolutely destroyed, as I just destroyed that poor guy probably fighting his first group of zombies. I mean, that's going to happen, and the players that are playing solo will have to learn or find groups, find alternatives, and just try to get better and better at the game. I do hope they put in some help for these solo players, or there are certain scenarios where they can allow them to play PvE without the constant pressure. And sometimes you just get terribly unlucky that you're stuck and your neighbors know exactly where you're spawning and how to kill you quickly. So there's a whole host of things, but in general, I think it's fine. I love playing solo. I think for new players getting into the game, you have to realize that there will be trying times for many hours, and if you don't have the resolve to get through those first 50 runs, whatever it may be, try something different. Rogues are so incredibly good at just keeping yourself alive, hiding, same as a ranger. Should there be changes? I think they'll definitely consider them. I think with the amount of traction this game's getting, they're going to have to consider them in order to keep some of those new players and solo players interested. But I'm not crying for changes personally. I don't think it's that detrimental to me. I still advanced quite far. I had really good gear, and I basically took every experience as like, look, what can I do differently? So personally, I'm honestly not too upset with how it runs right now. And any other options, I just don't want to split up the amount of players we're going to see in those lobbies, or have like skill-based lobbies where it's just a sweat fest. The comedy of this game is just the fact that we're all thrown in there together, and it's just a shit show. There's just nothing else you can say about it. It's just incredibly entertaining because you never know what you're going to step into. If you told me that every time I stepped into that lobby I'd be playing against the best players with the best gear, I might do that once in a while just to see how I held up and put it to test how good some of my skills are. But I'm not going back every night and playing that forever and ever and months on end against people that are just using the most broken strats, the most broken characters, the most unbalanced stuff. But before we get into balancing, I do want to discuss Highroller lobbies a bit. So balancing will come at the end. Now look, I know in this clip you're watching, and coming up you'll see a quick little moment where I've killed 3 people in a room and I'm ruthlessly taking their campfire and making it my own. But a lot of you are probably saying, why am I not entering into Highroller lobbies if I'm getting these kills? This didn't happen that often, to be honest, and essentially within the playtest I think I have close to 90 hours, and most of those hours are spent across multiple characters. So generating a good enough gear for me to consistently go into Highrollers was just not an option. But in saying that, that was the next step. I was extremely excited to be able to go into Highrollers, regardless of there being a lot of 3-mans. I just want to play against people with similar gear sometimes. Not all the time, not every night, and I don't want to reduce the craziness of what pubs are. But Highrollers did, essentially to me, scream opportunity and excitement. So I don't see a reason for them to change too much of what they have with that. I watched a lot of streamers go in with groups of 3s. I watched guys go in solo, and you just have to be prepared and know what you're getting yourself into. As a solo player, obviously you're going to be at a disadvantage. It's just the nature of the way it's set up. I'm not yelling and screaming because they're reducing me to doing that. I honestly am excited that I get the opportunity to put myself with really good gear against other people with really good gear. I'm not playing Chivalry, I'm not playing Mordhau to try to go into 1v1 engagements constantly. I'm there for the pure entertainment of just the randomness. And if I can be that solo player that runs into a lobby with 3 men and groups and duos, and I can make it more challenging for them, like give them a better challenge than what they were expecting, I consider that a success, and I'll enjoy doing that. So unfortunately I didn't get time to really entertain too many Highroller lobbies, but I'm excited to be able to do that hopefully next time. Alright, so finally we're on to the topic I think is actually of most concern to me, and that's just character balancing, some of the skills that are out there and available. As you'll see in the clip we're talking over, I get basically spawn rushed by a mage, and there's essentially nothing I can do. I don't even think if I had the best gear in the game on my fighter, I'd be able to stop this mage. I hit him twice, maybe one of them could have been a headshot, or 2 of them could have been headshots, but he took next to no damage and shanked me twice and I die. So if we're going to force people into solo lobbies, or we're going to switch to skill-based matchmaking, my fear is that these kind of situations will just run rampant, where you'll be against some cheese strat that you can't fight, and there'll be no point of me picking my fighter class. There'll be no point of picking cleric. You'll just be forced into running the most ridiculously broken shit repeatedly, and that's not what I'm interested in doing at all. The only reason why my fighter is successful a little bit in some of these situations is because I have good gear. Some of the players are a bit newer. I can, go toe-to-toe with some of these players and not feel completely unmatched or, out of my depth. But the moment we start forcing solo lobbies, you're going to have guys that are playing in 3-mans, generating crazy good gear, getting crazy good drops, and then they'll just go and join a solo lobby and just wipe and mop the floor with all these players. Rushing to spawn, as you see here, and just annihilating people that can't even have no option, basically, and can't escape. So to me, that's more scary than going into 3-mans the way they are currently set up, or going into lobbies with solo, duos, and trios. Honestly, the only way this guy gets stopped is if he runs into a 3-man party that actually knows what they're doing, because there's very few solo players out there, unless they're playing the exact same kit with the exact same gear, going to be able to stop this guy. Once again, thank you all for watching this. I've been enjoying the discussions in the comments, and I've been incredibly impressed by the amount of likes and stuff I'm seeing. I posted that first video as basically a spur-of-the-moment decision, like midnight Christmas Eve. I just was so excited by what had happened, I thought I had to share. I think we're all having a similar experience with Dark and Darker. We are all enjoying those moments, enjoying the gameplay, and just are so desperate for February because we want that feeling again. There's simply nothing else out there right now that is going to fill that gap for me. And I think we're all in the same boat. I'm going to keep doing what I can to find stuff for you guys, but it's going to be a long wait, and I appreciate the support.